It's the best darn camp there is. I'm the program director, Jerry Oldini. We have some special programs. We're doing Shakespeare in the Round again, of course, and at our political roundtable, Henry Kissinger will appear. Yasser Arafat is going to come out, spend a whole week with the kids, just rap with them. And the kids wanted animals, so this year, each camper will stalk and kill his own bear in our private wildlife preserve. But the real excitement, of course, will come at the end of the summer during set.
Greetings, AMLE campers from your future. I was able to get this urgent message to you through a very small traversable Lorentzian wormhole in the time-space continuum. Yeah, we do that where I'm from. The hole will collapse soon, so here it is. In your now, 2020, you are confronted with pandemic-induced anxious rethinking of middle school and how to start up again in the new year. You may be doing blended or full-time remote instruction, and as you consider all of this, you wonder, how do you stay healthy and effective as teachers when you teach virtually but also in the classroom, and you may be teaching your own children at home at the same time? You wonder, long used instructional practices in the classroom don't transfer to remote instruction that well. How do you teach, especially if you want to be developmentally responsive to young adolescents? How do you remove all the inequities in access to technology and resources amongst all the students and their families? How do you do this when students simply don't show up, and maybe due to economic loss, illness, or dysfunctional family, learning for them is limited at best? Some of you are struggling with new ways to assess students with course content. You can't imagine any other way to assess students, but now you have to do that with outside the physical classroom with blended or remote instruction. And how do you know the work students are doing is really their own? Zoom fatigue is real. How do you make your lessons on the computer screen engaging and get students invested in their own learning? Remote instruction, even blended with some in-person teaching, is slower than daily in-classroom teaching. You're not able to get through all the curriculum in which you normally progress. How do you sort what's worth keeping in the current curriculum? What needs to be left out due to limited time and utility? What do you do about last year's curriculum that may or may not have been learned well? Strong teacher-student relationships are key to student engagement, especially in middle school. But the normal go-to activities to build those relationships at the beginning of the year are no longer available if you're doing remote instruction. So what can we really do to connect with one another and establish community? Now, though, you're taking a breath, redefining mission and practices here at AMLE's Summer Camp 2020. Culling dulled practices, shredding indifference, that teaching the same thing over and over in a physical classroom year after year may have locked you in as an unresponsive cog in a complacent system of which you are only now becoming aware. The dawn, my 2020 ancestors, is about to happen. Our new instructional creativity is born. One of the greats, Maya Angelou, once said, "You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have." This is all very daunting, seemingly beyond our capacity to resolve. We're used to being competent. It's hard when we don't grant ourselves forgiveness to not get it right at first, or we are averse to reinvention of our teacher selves for fear that we appear less than knowledgeable. As we strip away pretense and accept these truths, however, maybe we can do something extraordinary.
Let go of earlier versions of our teacher selves. Untether thinking. Re-examine long practiced but rarely questioned strategies, and invite new and provocative ways of teaching into our practice. Could this be a moment to invigorate a previously flagging energy and professionalism, and we find personal evolution? Let's see our call to be innovative right now not as a burden to bear, but as a wellspring from which we can draw new perspectives for student learning and profound teaching. We can invite students into the teaching learning dynamo, for example, asking them to plan and deliver some lessons themselves. Really, they can often run circles around us with their tech prowess, and they're looking for ways to be active and contribute. We can invite them to think of different ways to assess the same standard, as long as we're focused on accurate evidence of proficiency, not compliance that they followed a particular format. They can suggest evocative writing topics and activities that more closely reflect their lives, challenges, and culture, even with controversial topics that would still enable clear demonstrations of intended learning. We can look online for how other teachers teach the same things we do and borrow from them, or outright ask students to watch them instead of us. We can consider how to let students build physical and virtual models with at least one moving piece to demonstrate abstract ideas. And they can create podcast debates between historical figures or a series of Instagram reflections from specific characters in their novels. Culture, class, gender, and racist intersectionality as originated by Kimberly Williams Crenshaw, can be explored and expressed via dozens of avenues in fine and performing arts, as can laws of science and the Bill of Rights. We can leverage the world of experiential education, often found in physical education and outdoor education programs, to increase engagement and understanding of academic subjects. We can infuse instruction with more suspense, foreshadow, and constructivism instead of mere declarations of fact, igniting the curious minds before us. This is the chance to get truly excited about the out there possibilities. We went to school. We were not taught how to think. We were taught to reproduce what past thinkers thought. Instead of being taught to look for possibilities, we were taught to exclude them. It's as if we entered school as a question mark and graduated as a period.
In effective middle schools, we help students become ceaseless interrogatives, and if we ignite learning spark, exclamatories, we're not satisfied with simple declaratives, and we are unsettled by autocratic imperatives. We study, collaborate, and push each other to achieve escape velocity. Run, Barry, run! There is nothing about remote instruction or blended instruction that says we give up all we know about effective teaching. When we sacrifice sound principles, however, we feel lost ourselves. We succumb, losing steam in our own efforts. If we're principled first, actionable second, we fight just a little harder, last a little longer, as we confront the creative challenges ahead. In this effort, let's see our forced lesson and assessment modernizations as great opportunities to revisit the core values of AMLE's This We Believe and to manifest them weekly. Some of us have let our own creativity atrophy over the years, though just going through the lessons and the motions of years past with each new set of students. When we weren't looking, we fell into a comforting and familiar pattern, though it be full of ruts. The more we practice building instructional fluency and dexterity, the faster and more effective are our choices, and they are at our mental fingertips when we need them. This is a great time for brainstorming engaging lessons, assessment redesigns, interdisciplinary connections, what it means to truly teach middle school, not junior versions of high school, how to bring students' personal lives into the learning, how to cultivate student agency, and wow, to practice problem solving just for its own sake. When we don't have this versatility, it's easier to blame students and situations when learning flounders. We give up, there's nothing left in the tank, and worse, students are treated inequitably. Their learning, hope for themselves, and trust in us are jeopardized. Let's awake to the fundamentals of human learning, augmented by the explosion of cognitive science research applications about how the mind best learns. I say to you, listen to the brain's storytellers. You'll discover what we know in my time. No one cares if middle schoolers demonstrate indoctrinated compliance so much as whether or not they learned the curriculum and became competent, compassionate citizens, leading meaningful lives and contributing positively to the world. And hope here is paramount. Remote instruction inequities and systemic racism and classism are exacerbated in 2020 to the point where no one can look away and all have a stake in their expulsion. Effective learning in its purest form, in whatever medium platform you use, will ignite extraordinary new approaches, renewed commitment to do right by our students, and candid questioning of the status quo, even with the most controversial and heretofore undiscussed topics. Every diverse member of the next generation of humanity will be seen as infinitely valuable and worthy of every moment of our time. You will rise with rekindled dedication, walking your communities through this great challenge. So now, as you help children push back the oppressive uncertainties, consider the very real futures you create. In every lesson, every interaction, you are truly building a world worthy of the next generation, and you're giving students the tools to make it their own.
As your schools begin again, consider the words of civil rights activist, tennis champion, and HIV/AIDS educator Arthur Ashe. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. We can do this in the small and larger moments of reimagining and facilitating student learning in the year ahead. It's a process, not an event, though, so let this be a progression. Don't despair over steps that were smaller than you thought they would be, or the times you stumbled down blind alleys. And as Maya says, you can't use up creativity. Make sure to invite students to walk the path with you, imperfectly navigating a deeply challenging situation as you are in, and maybe even lead the way. Just as forest fire can bring new and unprecedented growth to places that were overgrown and strangling all new life, this is an opportunity to renew yourselves, add colors to your palette, find vitality where it may have waned, and wow, middle school needs life and color right now, so run with it.
Thank you for what you do all day long and into the wee hours of the night. For the times you don't feel you have it in you, yet you rise again and are just as professional as always. It matters in 1,000 different ways, seen and unseen, from next week's resolutions to challenges years from now. It matters. Trust in that. We are better for you being at the helm in 2020. From all of us several hundred years in the future, thank you for all you are and all you are doing there and now at AMLE's summer camp. We are the living proof of your loving perseverance.
And that's what I said to John Lounsbury. He cracked up. I mean, his smile, his encouragement just lights up the room. He really was the one that put middle school on the map. We could only be so lucky as to follow in his legacy. Man, I'm going to miss him. Thank you, John, wherever you are.